Okay, here's a review video on chapter 3. I'm just going to go over some of the questions on the study guide, and then, maybe you'll be able to finish the rest of it. Okay. These true-false questions, you can base them off of the cheat sheet that I gave out, right? This thing right here. It tells you in the cheat sheet whether vertical angles are congruent, same side interior angles are supplementary, things like that. You just want to be careful with the always, the statement always and sometimes, right? Vertical angles are always congruent. They always have to be equal to each other. Corresponding angles are sometimes congruent. That's false, okay? They all have to be always congruent. It's not sometimes equal to each other. It's always equal to each other, okay? So just based on those, details, just try your best to answer these. Okay, let's move on. Identify the angles and solve for x. So we have these two angles. Let's look at number 2. We have these two angles here. 9x plus 8 sitting on this angle, and then 11x minus 8 sitting on that angle. All right, maybe I'll just highlight them. This angle right here and this angle right here. Okay, they are both on alternate sides of this transversal line. Remember, transversal is just any line that cuts through two parallel lines, and the two parallel lines are here. Okay, so we're saying that they're on alternate sides. The 9x is on the right side, 11x is on the left side, but then it's also on the interior of the parallel lines. So what's the vocab word we're going to use here? Let's look at our cheat sheet. Vertical angles, no, they have to be across from each other. Corresponding angles, they have to be in similar positions. Alternate interior angles, AIA, that's exactly where our angles are, right? Alternate sides of this transversal, interior of the parallel lines. Cool. So this is going to be alternate interior angles. And then to set them up, we just set them equal to each other. 11x minus 8 equals 9x plus 8. And then solve for x. Right, we just solve for x. Here, I'm not going to spend too much time, explaining how to solve for x. We all know how to do this. At this point, we know how to do this. Plus 8, 2x equals 16, divide by 2, x equals 8. Okay, that's all I'm looking for here. That's all I'm looking for here. I'll help you set up this equation, but I'm not going to solve it for you. So again, do the same steps. Identify these angles. So we have this angle right here, 16x plus 3, 10x minus 5. Our transversal line is this line, the line that cuts through, and then our parallel lines are here. Okay, so they're on the same side of the transversal. They're both on that left side, and then they're on the interior. So same side, interior, same side, interior. I'm looking back at my cheat sheet. Vertical, no. Corresponding, no. Alternate interior, no. Alternate exterior, no. They're on the interior. Supplementary, kinda. They're next to each other, but we're looking for same side interior right here. So here it tells me we have to add them up and set it equal to 180. So let's go ahead and set up our equation. So this is going to be SSI, right? So how you solve this, you have to add these two angles up, set it equal to 180, and then solve for x, right? X equals what? Cool. Okay, let's move on. Same thing here. I'll do number 4, but then try number 5 on your own. You know what? I'll do number 5 and then try number 4 on your own. Okay, same thing here. Identify the angles, find the measure of the angle indicated in bold. So this one is bolded, right? So we're going to solve for x and then plug it back in. That's all we're going to do. Okay. All right. So these are two angles that are right next to each other, this angle and this angle. Okay. So when I look back at my sheet, I'm looking at what two angles are right next to each other. Let's see. Oh, supplementary, right? Supplementary angles. They're right next to each other. They combine to make this straight line here. Okay, let's go back to this one. They're right next to each other. Oops. These two angles are right next to each other. They combine to make that straight line on the bottom. Okay, these are supplementary angles. Supplementary angles. Therefore, you have to add them up to 180. Okay, and now let's solve. Combine like terms, right? 8x, 17x, they both have variables. We can add them. That should be 25, yeah. Okay. Negative 6 plus 11, that's positive 5. Right? Minus 5 on both sides. 175 divided by 25. Okay, x equals 7. Yeah. Okay. And, oh, I'm sorry. We don't stop here, right? X is equal to 7. And then you have to plug that back in. Okay, so 17x plus 11 was the shaded or the bolded angle, right? 17 times 7 plus 11. 17 times 7, that's 119. And then 119 plus 11 is 130. Okay, that should be your final answer. Okay, number 4, I'm going to set it up for you, but you are going to try it on your own. Okay, we have these two angles that are across from each other, opposite from each other, so we got to identify them. What kind of angles are they when we look at our picture? Right here, right? Vertical angles, they're opposite from each other, okay? So these are vertical angles. Vertical. So you just set them equal to each other. 21x minus 6. Okay. And then just solve for x and then plug it back into this one. Right? X equals what? And then 21 times something minus 6 is your answer. Okay? Alright. Number 6 and number 7. Again, I'm going to set them up for you, but you're going to do the rest of them on your own. I'm only going to help you identify them. So number 6, we have our two parallel lines here, right? And then we have our transversal line is going to be this one because both of the angles are using this side, okay? And we have this angle right here, and we have this angle right here. It's the same thing, identify the angles, solve for x, plug it back in, and then we're going to plug it back into this one, right? But let's try to figure out what kind of angles we have here. They are on alternate sides of this transversal, right? 10x is on the left, 11x is on the right, and then they're on the outside of the parallel lines. This is the outside part. This is the inside part, okay? So alternate exterior, is that one of our angles? Alternate exterior. Alternate interior and alternate exterior is right here, right? It kind of looks like this. It just has some extra lines. They're equal to each other. Cool. Okay, so how we're going to solve this? This is AE, exterior for outside. Set them equal to each other. Right, and then solve for x. X equals what? Plug it back in. 10 times what? Plus 2 is equal to your answer. Okay, what about number 7? Again, our angles are here. parallel lines, boom, boom. Transversal line is this one. Cool, right? What kind of angles do we have here? Let's look back at our sheet. I'm not going to use this one. Let's look back at our reference sheet. They look like they're in similar positions, right? Right? They're both on that bottom right corner of their lines, the bottom right corner. So this is going to be corresponding. They're on corresponding parts, corresponding positions, similar positions, okay? So they have to be equal to each other. So I'm going to say corresponding. Corresponding angles. So 21x plus 4 equals 20x plus 10. Okay, solve for x. X equals something. Okay, and then plug it back into the 20. 20 times whatever the x is plus 10 equals what? What's your final answer? Okay, cool. Let's move on to number 8. Number 8, given that angle 1 is 50, find the measure of the rest of the angles. So angle 1 is 50 degrees, this is 50 degrees, okay? So we're going to figure out what 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 are going to be. And all we have to do is just understand the definition of all of these angles and then figure it out, okay? So let's start with 1 and 4. 1 and 4. These two, 1 and 4, are vertical angles, right? Vertical angles, they are across from each other. They are this one right here. Right? This one right here. They're across from each other, so they have to be equal. Okay? So we're going to say angle 4 is 50 degrees. Right? So now let's look at 4 and 5. Let's look at 4 and 5. 4 and 5 are on the interior. Right? Oh, I'm sorry. The interior, and this is the transversal line. These two are the parallel lines. Right, so 4 and 5 are on the interior of the parallel lines, but then they're on alternate sides of the transversal. So that's alternate interior angles. Those have to be equal to each other. Oh, man. So alternate interior angles have to be equal. So, okay, that means angle 5 is also 50 degrees. And then this one, you could look at it many different ways. You could say 1 and 8, right, are alternate exterior, or 5 and 8 are alternate or are vertical, or you could say 4 and 8 are corresponding, but the point is 8 is also going to be 50 degrees. Okay, cool. What about the other ones? 2, 3, 6, 7. All right, let's look at number 2. So 1 and 2, they're right next to each other. They create that straight line at the bottom. Those have to be supplementary angles. Supplementary. Okay, they add up to 180. So if we already know that angle 1 is 50 degrees, angle 2 has to be what's left over, right? So we know angle 1 is 50 plus angle 2, they have to add up to 180. So just take away 50 on both sides. We know angle 2 is 130, right? That leftover piece has to be 130. Angle 2 is 130, right? 130 plus 50 is 180. Then again, 2 and 3 are vertical angles, so 3 is 130. 3 and 6 are alternate interior angles, so 130. 6 and 7, vertical angles, 130. That's it. That is it. Okay. All right, let's try the next one. Let's try the next one. Number 9. This one's a little bit tricky, right? Because we're looking at these two angles, and we're telling ourselves, wait a minute, they don't look like any of the angles we've been studying. They don't look like any of the angles we've been studying. So, because they don't look like any of the angles we've been studying, we have to kind of move them around, right? So what I mean by that is, let's take this 2x for example. 2x and then this missing, this empty part. Those two angles are corresponding, right? They are corresponding. And we know that corresponding angles are equal to each other. So if this is 2x plus 10, we could also say 2x plus 10 is up here. Okay? And now these two angles have a relationship. These two angles right here, these two next to each other, right? We've been using this a lot. Now, these two angles are supplementary. So now we could set up our equation to solve for x here. Okay, so I'm actually going to ask you to try this on your own. It's just a setup that's difficult, but now that I set it up for you, solve for x. Just like that. Okay, go ahead, try to solve this out. X is equal to something. All right, what is it equal to? All right, let's try these other ones. I'm gonna do sorry about that. I'm gonna do 10 and 11. We're gonna skip 15. It's okay. We don't have to do 15. And then 10, 11, 10, 11, and 13. Okay, 10, 11, and 13. And then and then you're gonna do the rest of that. So let's look at number 10. Very, very straightforward here, right? Given that M and L are parallel, so these two are parallel. This is the transversal here. Find a measure of x and y. Okay, so let's take a look at the 142 and y real quick. Take a quick look at it. Try to think about what kind of angles we have here. X and y. I mean, sorry, 142 and y. What kind of angles are they? Yeah. All right. So with enough thought, you can recognize that these are alternate exterior angles. 142 and y are A, E, A. So y is actually just equal to 142. They have to be congruent. Okay, so we know y is 142. Now let's look at y and x. What kind of angles are y and x? They're right next to each other. They create a straight line. We've been using this a lot. Yeah, all right. Supplementary. Y and x are supplementary. So they have to be equal to 180. So instead of y, I'm just going to say 142 because we know 142 is y. Right? Minus 142 on both sides. X is equal to 38. Okay. That's it. So we know x is 38. Cool. Let's move on. Same thing here, but now we actually have to solve for the we have expressions. These are the parallel lines. There's the transversal. Okay, let's start with x. Let's look at the two x's, right? What kind of angles are they? Try to think for yourself here. Right, this sheet of paper, this is posted on Schoology, by the way. Right, this is posted on Schoology. So you're looking at the x. They're both in similar positions, just on different lines. Those are corresponding. We already know that corresponding angles are equal to each other, right? Sorry, my pen is acting up. So you just have to set them equal to each other. I'm going to go ahead and solve for x here, right? X minus 19 equals 1. Okay, add 19 on both sides, and we should get our answer for x right away. Alright, so we know x is 20. Cool. Now, let's use that information to solve for y. So from here on out, just pick whichever one you want to work with. I guess either one works. Let's just say I want to work with 3x and 5y. So these two angles right here, what kind of angles are they? They're both on the same side of this transversal. They're both on the left side, right? They're both in the interior of the parallel lines. So these have to be same side interior. These are SSI, right? Same side interior. If we go back to our sheet, that is this one, right? They have to add up to 180. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead, set that up. So I'm going to say 3x, sorry, not plus, minus 19 plus 5y plus 19 equals 180, right? Combine like terms, the negative 19 and then the plus 19, they just cancel each other out, right? So I'm just going to bring down 3x plus 5y equals 180. The x, we know x is 20, right? So since we know that x is 20, all we're just going to do is 3 times 20, right? And then now we could just go ahead and solve for y. We don't have two variables anymore. 3 times 20 is 60. 5y equals 120. I just subtracted 60 on both sides. And y is equal to 224. Okay, there you go. Okay, number 12 is very similar, so try out number 12 on your own, right? Okay, let's do this last one, 13, and then you're going to do 14 on your own. Okay. Find the measure of angle 1, 2, and 3. Explain your reasoning. So, okay, this is where it gets a little bit tricky, right? Let's start with what's given to us. We have 80 degrees here, and then let's start with angle 1. Okay. We have our two parallel lines here, and then we have our transversal line here. Okay. So again, just try to like erase this part from your, like, try to ignore it. Let's look at the lines that we highlighted and the angles we highlighted. 1 and 80 are on the same side, right? Same side of the transversal. 1 and 80 are both on this right side, okay? And then they're both in the interior of the parallel lines. So that's going to be SSI, right? Angle 1 and 80 degrees are SSI. So angle 1 plus 80 is equal to 180, right? And then angle 1 is going to be 100 degrees, right? If you subtract 180 or 80 on both sides. So we know angle 1's 100. Cool. Now we know angle 1 is 100. Okay, now how do you find the rest of it? So let's keep going. Now let's say that this is our transversal, and then we have these two lines are parallel. Okay, now we're looking at the relationship between angle 1 and angle 2. See that? What kind of relationship do they have? I'll give you a second to think about it. Angle 1 and angle 2. What kind of angles are they? Right? If you said SSI, that's correct. SSI, right? Same side of the purple line. They're both on the bottom side of it. Both in the interior of the green lines. Okay, so same thing here. I'm going to say 100 instead of angle 1 plus angle 2 is equal to 180. Angle 2 has to be 80 degrees. Okay. Go. So we know angle 2 is 80 degrees. Let's keep it going. I'm just going to say 80 degrees on the other side. Okay. Now, last one. Let's look at angle 2 and angle 3. Again, parallel lines are here. Transversal line is this one now. Okay, what do you think angle 2 and angle 3 are going to be? Yeah, there you go. You guessed it. Same side interior. So I'm going to show my work on the other side here. Angle 2 and angle 3 are SSI. So angle 2 is 80 degrees plus angle 3 equals 180. Angle 3 is 100 degrees. Okay? There you go. That's it. You explained your reasoning. You solved for the measure of each angle. So try to do the same thing on number 14. And then number 15, we'll skip it. But that's it. That's the rest of the study guide, right? So it's really just, understanding this thing right here, right? The relationship of each angle, how to set them up, right? How to identify them, okay? That's the big part. If you don't understand this sheet, then this study guide is going to be very difficult for you. Okay, but remember, this is posted on Schoology. This is all posted on Schoology, so take a moment to look through it.